Hi folks, this is Dr. Rob Sivas, the Carb Addiction Doc. And as a practicing physician, there is something very, very important that shouldn't need to be said, but it's a critically important aspect to explain to people, patients of other doctors and my own patients. One of the concerns I have as a foreign doctor who's been working in this country for around 30 years is how paternalistic our healthcare system is. And a lot of the time, we doctors do not treat our patients as intelligent, smart human beings. Really, the role for me as a doctor primarily is to offer an expert opinion, to have an opinion, to discuss options, to discuss risks, to discuss benefits, and to provide that information for our patients so that they are better able to make care decisions about their own health care. Now, sometimes patients will ask me, what would you do if it was your son or you? And I give them that information. But ultimately, a consent-giving adult has to be in charge of their own healthcare decisions. That's the way this works. And the right thing to do is to get opinions from a variety of different folks, perhaps even including the internet, and then come to a consensus of what you're going to do. Why am I even mentioning this? Because so often I get patients coming to me and they're talking about statins and their LDLs are off. And they're on a laundry list of medications, amongst which are a statin, and they're doing a ketogenic diet and they probably don't need to be on a statin. And then there's this awful conflict with their family doctor or their cardiologist telling them they have to be on a statin without which they're going to die, and I'm not going to see you as a patient if I don't, or an endocrinologist that fires their patient for using a ketogenic diet for dealing with their diabetes. Those are doctors that are going above and beyond. They're basically saying to you, I don't believe that you have the capacity to make sound decisions based on my opinion and opinions of others. The best we doctors can do is give you our opinion. And sometimes it may be of value to go into the doctor and say, yes, 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 listen to what they're saying, and then they'll write the prescription for a statin, and then you yourself can decide whether or not you're going to take it. The problem then is medico-legal. So if you take your statin and you have a heart attack, oh dear. If you don't take your statin and you have a heart attack, I, the doctor, am liable for that. And that's a problem. That's a problem with modern healthcare. So my suggestion for my patients is this: empower yourself with knowledge, understand the risks and the benefits, and then make your decision. If you take a statin, even though I say it's probably not necessary, that's fine. I'm not going to be upset by that. At the same time, if you don't take a statin because of the guidance that we've given you, based on sound medical evidence, and something does happen, the contract that we have is that that is a risk that we knew was possible. Heart attacks can happen with or without statins. But I strongly object to one-sided evidence, and I've got a sheet of paper over here that promoted this to me. And I'll read it to you. It comes from United Healthcare, which is one of our commercial health insurance companies that we deal with. And it says this: this is a diabetic patient who is no longer diabetic. She's no longer on diabetes medication. She has a normal A1C, I believe it's 5.2, and she's not taking her medication because she's on a ketogenic diet. But she has the diagnosis of diabetes. And here's this message. It says, big alert, drug therapy problems is the heading. And it gives all the patient's identification. It says, big powerful letters, gap in care, diabetic and not on statin medication. The American College of Cardiology, American Heart Association recommends the use of moderate intensity statins in patients 40 to 75 years of age. This patient is 75 years old with diabetes and an LDL-C level of greater than 70 milligrams per deciliter without ACCVD, significant cardiovascular risk. If your patient is currently on niacin or fenofibric acid, which is used for triglycerides, combination therapy with statin has not been shown to improve atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease outcomes and is generally not recommended. Please consider initiating statin therapy in this patient. completely neutering me as a doctor. And that's the problem with healthcare. This is some generic piece of paper that has been written and documented with inadequate, inappropriate evidence. But I, as a physician, get judged based on whether I write that statin prescription or not. I am no longer able to be a root cause doctor, which is how I was trained and how I was raised. And more our healthcare system is doing that to us. Please, folks, empower yourselves with the discretion and the decisions based upon as much information as you can get. Make the right decisions about your own healthcare. Because these manifestos that so many doctors feel compelled to adhere to are not necessarily in every patient's best interest. But it puts us doctors in a huge predicament. Number one, we're being directed by the company that's paying us to prescribe this drug. Number two is if we don't and there's a bad outcome, we're medico-legally liable. And number three is this is clashing, certainly with me, in a very, very major way with my knowledge and my experience and my skills as a doctor. How the hell can we practice medicine and do the best for our patients under those conditions? It's an awful predicament for both doctor and patient to be in. And the best I can do is have a frank discussion with you about the pros and the cons. Tough times, ladies and gentlemen. Be safe, stay keto.